Good day, students. I welcome you all to another discussion for the subject Construction Materials and Testing, and we are already on our second lesson for the week. Okay, so for this discussion, we are going to talk about the minimum test requirements, and okay, because diba, since we are dealing with testing of certain materials now that we incorporate into the work, we now deal with the question how much sample do we need to obtain for testing, no? Because of course we cannot test the entire quantity for that specific material, di ba? So, we take sample on each of those materials and then we subject it to testing. Okay? Now, the question is, dili siya how much, manino, how much do we need to obtain for testing or kibali how much of a sample do we need to take, no? Because dili pwedeng kitay magbuot kung pila like answer for say for example naatay 2,000 bags of cement, dili ta pwedeng ingon, no, based on our preference nga pwede lang 1 bag lang ato ang kuhaon as sample nga ato ang testingan, no, for that cement nga quantity. Dili ta pwedeng ingon ana because we have standard ang specification nga gina-follow in terms of how much sample do we need to take, no, from those materials, because those materials, di ba, of course lahi-lahi na sila og unit, and then each material po na siya specified nga quantity for sample. Okay? So, kani siya nga specification or kani siya nga provision based ni siya sa provision ni DPWH. Okay, so kibali, this is the minimum test requirements specified by DPWH. Which kani siya nga mga specifications, gina-follow ni nato siya mostly, no, sa implementation sa ato ang mga projects as well. So, kani, we will be dealing, no, with quantities that would represent, no, the entire quantity. So, kani siya nga mga quantity or kani minimum test requirements, no, in terms of units na siya, different units, kani siya is considered to suffice, no, or consider siya nga enough na siya to represent the entire quantity of the material, no, nga gi-incorporate nato sa work. Okay, so first we have, that's a table dire, no? So first is we have kining column here for materials, and then the minimum testing requirements, and then we also have a column here for the minimum quantity or volume of materials for each sample that is to be submitted for testing. Okay, so first material we have here is for cement. So ang yang minimum testing requirements is 1 sample per 2,000 bags. Okay, so every 2,000 bags, you have to obtain 1 sample. Okay, and then when you say 1 sample, that corresponds to 10 kilograms. Okay, bali, if you have a total of 2,000 bags of cement, as imuhang quantity, no, sa imuhang bill of quantity, then you are to obtain 10 kilogram of cement, no, that is to be tested. So say for example, if you have 4,000 bags of cement, no, nga kabutang sa imong bill of quantities, because as we all know, before mag-start ang project, ato may gina-quantify, di ba? Ang mga materials from the steel, cement, aggregates, no, tanan mga paints, di ato mo siya quantify at first, di ba? So, mara siya mabalaan nato ang ihang quantity. That's why from there, we would be able to obtain, no, ang quantity nga ato ang kailangan for testing. Okay, so say for example, if you have 4,000 bags based on the bill of quantities, okay, so now you will have to take 10 times 2, no? Kahit ano naman siya, 2,000. So, kibali, 4,000 divided by 2,000. So, that is 2 sample, no? And then, ang 1 sample man is, nag-correspond siya sa 10 kilograms. So, that is now, you have man 2 sample, no? Kay 4,000 bags man siya. So, that you multiply that by 2, no, and then you will arrive with a 20 kilogram sample that would represent your entire 4,000 bags. And then kanang 20 kilogram, no, say we shall say muna siya ang atong subject for testing for cement. Okay, next is for asphaltic material. Okay, ayang minimum test requirements is we are going to obtain 1 sample per 20 tons or 200 grams. Okay, and then that sample would correspond to 5 liters. Okay, so we shall say in every 40 tons or 200 grams of asphaltic material, we are going to obtain 5 liter sample nga ato ang testingan. Okay, same goes with the others. Okay, bali, I will be presenting you with a lot medyo taas-taas siya nga list no, throughout the presentation or the discussion. Different materials and then their respective minimum test requirements and also the minimum quantity no, for that specific sample. Okay. Now we shall say no, the second material is our asphalt mix. No, kaning ano man na siya kanang combination na siya sa asphaltic material and then aggregates and then additive kung naa. No? So, we are to obtain one sample per 130 tons. Okay? So, ang kanang isa ka sample would mean 20 kilogram of your asphaltic material. Okay? That is one way of saying also no, that we are going to obtain 20 kilogram every 130 tons no, nga asphalt mix. Okay? So, ano na siya? Fraction thereof na siya. So, for example, if usually manggon kinang ang pag-solve ani niya, no, kung pila ka buok ay kalid ay kaning minimum quantity. So, ang pag-solve ana is kibali ang total quantity based on the bill of quantities, no. Imo na siyang i-divide sa kaning minimum testing requirements. And then namin yung mga tendency ana nga ay mga mga decimal places. At may kanang decimal places ma 0.1 ba na 0.2, 0.3 or 0.01 that correspond no fraction thereof siya. So kanang decimal niya would stand as one sample, automatic na siya. Nakibali mag-round up to the kanang wala siya decimal place. No? So for example, kung pag-divide nimo na kay 1.2 no kibali ana so ang kanang 1.2 automatic fraction thereof man siya kanang 0.2 automatic imo siyang i-round to one sample. Okay, so ana na siya ang pag-determine sa quantity. Okay? Now second, the next material is the aggregate. Okay, now for aggregates, no, for both coarse and fine aggregates, ang iyang minimum test requirements is you are to obtain one sample per 1,500 cubic meter. Okay, so lahi ang quantity for coarse and fine, no. So if you deal with coarse, you are to obtain one sample per 1,500 cubic meter, and then kanang isa ka sample would correspond to 70 kilogram. No? And if you deal with fine aggregate, so ang imong kuan example is 50 kg per 1,500 cubic meter. So lahi siya. No, dili pwede nga isahon lang imo. No, so dapat lahi-lahi imong sample for coarse aggregate and fine aggregates. Ngano man na because lahi-lahi man ato ang test quality test for coarse aggregate, lahi pa na sa fine aggregate. So manang lahi gid sila. Okay? Next is for soil aggregates, no. Ang imong kuhaon ana is one sample per still, no, 1,500 cubic meter. So ang imong kuhaon ana a total of 120 kilogram per 1,500 cubic meter. So, pwede man gud pud usahay nga for ano lang no, makapili lang kaali nga mga test no na may tulog classification for soil, test for soil rather no. So, kung classification nakadiha you are to obtain 20 kilogram no, and for routinary test 50 kilogram, and then for modified nga compaction no, and then your CBR 50 kilogram. So, if you are going to conduct all these three tests on your soil aggregates, you're going to obtain a total of 120 kilogram per 1,500 cubic meter of your soil aggregates. And then kung ano lang no, for kung classification lang ang imong i-test or test nga i-conduct, pwede ra po 20 kilogram no, and if kung CBR lang or MDR, and MDR 50 kilogram pod. Okay? Okay, for non-reinforced concrete pipes, ang iyang minimum test requirements is 2 pipes minimum or 0.5% of the number of pipes. So, first you're going to use the 0.5% of the number of total number of pipes, no, diya sa imong bill of quantities. And then, if mo less than na siya sa 2 pipes, ang imong gamiton is 2 pipes. So, kung mo more than siya sa 2 pipes, mo na imong gamiton. Okay, and then, muna siya 2 pipes no ang minimum quantity, and then if more than pa na siya pag-calculate nimo ang 0.5% sa imong total bill of quantities no with respect to non-reinforced concrete pipes, so syempre mo to yung i-follow no, okay, pero ang minimum nato is 2 pipes jud. Okay. Next, for reinforced concrete pipes, we are going to obtain one sample per 50 pipes no, or 2% of the number of pipes. Okay, so pila imong kuhaon ana no, when you say sample, that would correspond to one pipe no, with a length of 1 meter na siya. Okay, next is for steel pipe, your galvanized steel pipe. You're going to obtain one sample per 500 lengths no? And then now ang imong minimum quantity nga to be submitted for testing is 2 pieces of 100 millimeter long taken from both ends with thread. So kibali na kay entire length sa imong galvanized steel pipe, kuhaan mo na siya 100 millimeter rather, no, sa pikas nga side, and then sa pikas side pud niya 100 millimeter, no. So duha na siya kabuok ang imong isubmit for testing. Next is for your concrete hollow blocks or sa imong CHB, no. So you are going to obtain one sample per 10,000 units, no. If you have 20,000 units of CHB based on your bill of quantities, so siyempre duha ka sample ang imong kuhaon, no. And then when you say one sample, that would correspond to 6 units in total of your CHB. Okay, kung nakay 10,000 ka CHB, magkuha ka ang nag-unom ka buok para ipatest, no, sa iyahang both sa iyang strength and sa iyahang moisture content. So kibali tulo-tulo no sa naman tayo duha ka test for CHB, that is the determination of strength and at the same time determination of the moisture content. So tulo-tulo man na siya kada test ang iyang requirement, no. So unom tanan per 10,000 units. So kung na kay 20,000 no based sa imong bill quantities, so 12 tanan ang imong isubmit for testing. So that would correspond to 2 samples na dayon. Okay? Next is for your steel bar. So you need to obtain 1 sample per 10 tons, no, sa imong steel bar. And that sample would mean 1 meter. Kibale, you are going to submit, no, for quality test a 1 meter sample every 10,000 tons of your steel bar. So kung nakay 20 tons, so duha ka 1 meter ang imong isubmit, no, ana na siya. Next is for your steel sheet or your galvanized steel sheet. You're going to obtain 1 sample per 100 sheet, no. And then unsa ang minimum quantity, no, for that sample is 3 pieces of 60 mm by 60 mm na square sheet na siya. So tulo ka buok, so you are going to cut tulo ka buok, no, ka 60 by 60 mm. Muna na siya mong isubmit for to represent, no, 100 sheets for testing na siya. Next is your wire strand. You are going to obtain 1 sample per 20 tons, no, sa imong wire strand. So kanang sample would mean 2 meters. So you are going to obtain 2 meters, no, of wire strand per 20 ton based sa imong bill of quantities. Okay, kay mo man yung minimum quantity. Okay? Ang kanyang mga wire strand usually ginagamit na siya sa kanang mga pre-stressed nga mga structures like pile and beams. Okay? Next is for your gabion. So, kibali per shipping ni siya, no. Ang yung minimum test requirement ani is per shipping, you are going to submit 1 by 2 meter nga sample sa imong gabion. So, a gabion wire man na siya, no. So, ang imong i-test is kaning wire, no, nga nag-contain sa kaning mga boulders dire. So, that is what we call the gabion wires. Okay? So, ang iyang minimum test requirement ana is per shipping ni siya, no, and then you're going to submit a 1 by 2 meter nga sample na to represent the entire shipping batch. Okay? Ang kaning gabion usually ginagamit ni siya sa kanang mga substructures sa kaning bridges, no, or any structure that lies underwater, no, kay maka-prevent magud ni siya sa scouring. Usually pwede ka man siya in other application, but commonly ginagamit na siya to prevent scouring, no, diha sa kanang mga atong mga piers and abutments diha sa bridges, so mga substructures kibali. Okay? Next is for paint. So we are going to obtain 1 can that would correspond to 4 liters, no? Kaya usually ang 1 can of your paint is 4 liters man asya. So you're going to obtain 1 can per 100 cans of paint. Based sa imong bill of quantities, no. Kung so nakay 200 cans, no, man estimate nimo, so you are going to submit 2 cans, no, which is ang 4 liters each na siya, that you are going to submit for testing. Okay. Okay, next is for your concrete cylinder or basically concrete, no. So you are going to take 1 sample per 75 cubic meter. And then that sample would correspond to 1 set, no? And then ang kanang 1 set, tulo na siya ka cylinder. Kaning tulo ka cylinder considered as one set niya na siya, and then you are going to obtain one set no in every 75 cubic meter. So kanang 75 cubic meter, ano man na siya kanang um, Kibali mo na siya yung minimum testing requirements, no? So, usually, ang ginabuhat ana is, kada buhos, no? For example, say, for example, naka 150 cubic meter nga buhosan karon nga day. That would correspond to your butang na to, columns or beams, or columns and beams, no? So, kana nga day, naka buhosan nga 150. So, you are going to obtain two sets of kining concrete cylinder. No? Sabot unom na siya. Okay, so kaning concrete cylinder, it is used to represent kanang concrete nga imong buhos dira, and usually we use kining concrete cylinder for concrete that is supposed to withstand compressive strength. I mean compressive stresses. No, kay kaning cylinder is subject man siya sa compression test. Okay, so basically kaning when do you use concrete cylinder? Kung magbuhos ka og kanang concrete nimo nga sa mga reinforced structures. No? Ang imong gamiton ana nga sample is cylinder. Kay kailangan po tayo ginatawag nga beam. Okay, concrete beam. So same gihapon siya no og minimum testing requirement, one sample per 75 cubic meter, and then one set gihapon, and then ang one set is three kabuok, three beams na siya. No? So usually ang kining concrete beam is for ano man siya testing in flexure. So when do you use concrete beam sample? It is diha sa kanang mga pagbuhos nimo sa roadway. Usually diha ra gid na siya ang beam no sa kanang roadway, and reinforced na siya no. Kani man gud siya is to withstand flexure no, gi-treat nimo or gi-expect nimo ang imong concrete ani to withstand flexure stresses. No? So that is why it is through concrete beam no nga ma-determine nato ang flexural nga strength sa imong concrete nga gibuhos dira. Okay, so when do you use concrete cylinder? Kung magbuhos ka og structure nimo nga naay reinforcement. Kay purely compression ra gyud ang role sa imong concrete diha na. No, do natin mga included no sa design calculation pod nga naay part sa atong column or sa atong beam nga mo withstand siya sa kanang mga flexure no. But diri sa testing, ang tanan concrete nga ma-deposit siya nga naay reinforcement at ang kaon nga sample is for compression ra jud, which corresponds to your concrete cylinder. And then kung magbuhos ka og roadway pavement, wala siya reinforcement, that is when you use concrete beam samples. Okay, so dili malibog. Okay, next. So na diri no, other materials such as your joint filler or your pre-molded joint filler, ang iyahang minimum test requirements ana is per shipping gihapon na siya no 1 by 400 by 400 mm. And for your curing compound, 1 liter gihapon na siya per shipping. And then for your concrete core, no, katong determination for thickness man ni siya, no, katong mag-drill ta og cylindrical in shape nga sample no gamit nato ang concrete driller. So 5 holes, dili siya pwede no nga bisag asa lang ta magbangag no or mag-collect sa ato ang sample, but naana siya minimum testing requirements nga atong gina-follow, which means for concrete core 5 holes for every kilometer per lane. Ayan na dapat kadaghan ang holes nga imo yung imong cylindrical sample, or that is how many times should you kanang obtain kanang whole kanang imong sample no, so bali ikalima ka magbangag no for every kilometer per lane. Okay, so kung naa kay duha ka lane, so times 2 na siya. Okay, so next is for your asphalt core is 1 core for every 100 meter. Okay, ana na siya. Okay, so mao to siya no ang minimum test requirements nato based sa DPWH provision. Okay, so mo dito to ginabase kung how much of a sample do we need to take no for quality test to represent the entire quantity. Since we cannot test No, it is very impractical and very not ideal that we should test the entire quantity. So that is kailangan lang yun nga mag-obtain og sample no as a representative for that entire quantity. So that is why we follow or we refer to the minimum test requirements specified by DPWH. Okay, so kato siya nga minimum test requirements, nakita to siya sa DPWH nga standard specification nga book, no? Which is also called DPWH Blue Book. Okay. Now we talk about when you say classes of concrete, naa siya yung mga designated niya, no, based sa iyahang design nga mga components. Okay? So, gi-specify no aside from the minimum test requirements specified by DPWH na diha sa Blue Book, also gi-specify niya no ang composition sa klase sa concrete rather. So, per class of concrete, naa siya specified nga composition na in terms of the bag sa cement and the water cement ratio, and also the specified nga slump niya, and also sa kayahang mga sizes of aggregate, and at the same time ang iyang minimum strength, no, compressive strength when tested on the 28th day. Okay, so we talk each one by one. First is for Class A concrete. So usually kini siya ginagamit ni siya sa pag-estimate gihapon no sa ato ang aggregates, and at the same time sa aggregates and also sa number of bags nga ato ang kailangan sa ato ang volume sa concrete no kay di ba mag-calculate man ta sa kanang volume sa tanan natong column, beam, slab, no, kana siya mga walls, kung natin mga shear walls, ato na siyang i-quantify, di ba, per cubic meter na siya. Now, from that cubic meter, we are going to also further quantify ang bags of cement that we are going to need, no, and also kung how much ang cubic meter do we need to kanang have or we need to obtain in terms of kanang aggregates niya, no. So, mao ni siya. Okay, ato na siyang gibase diri, especially kanang yung number of bags. Okay, so for class of concrete A or class A concrete, we are going to need 9 bags anan siya per cubic meter na siya. Now that corresponds to 360 kilogram of cement. Now 9 bags na siya per cubic meter. Okay, and then ang ihang maximum water cement ratio is 0.53. Okay, ratio ni siya sa water and cement composition sa imuhang concrete. 0.53 ang water cement ratio. And then again, no, we have also included that in our discussion previously, nga ang water cement ratio is mo na siya ang determine sa strength sa imuhang concrete. Na siya yung formula. Okay? And then, napod na siya specified po ang imuhang class A concrete, na siya consistency range in slump. No, okay, bali, when you deal with class A concrete, dapat ang ihang slump na is nag-range lang sa 2 to 4 inches only, or 50 to 100 millimeters. Okay, ato na nag-discuss previously, di ba, ang kanang slump test, no, kung saan yung important. So, I have also mentioned previously, nung per class of concrete na siya designed or ideal nga slump or katong pagbaba niya, no, pag depress sa imong katong cone nimo na pagkuha sa imong cone na sa imong concrete. So nana siya for class A concrete 2 to 4 inches lang dapat. Okay? And then pud ang yang composition ana in terms of coarse aggregate, dapat nag-range lang, no, ang yang size sa yang coarse aggregate is dapat nag-range lang sa 1.5 to number 4, no, in terms of millimeter. Ang number 4 is ano na siya, sieve number na. Ang kanang sieve number na siya corresponding nga size gihapon in terms of millimeter. Okay? And then, ang kaning last na column diri is ano ni siya, this refers to the minimum compressive strength na of your concrete cylinder tested on the 28th day. Okay, so when you say class A concrete, that corresponds to 3,000 PSI when tested. Kaya ang design strength ana, when you say class A, is 3,000 PSI. Okay, for class B na pod, no, so ang iyahang minimum cement content per cubic meter is 8.5 bags or 320 kilogram. And then yung water cement ratio ana is 0.58. Okay? And then ang iyahang consistency ana is nag-range sa 2 to 4 inches gihapon, and then ang iyahang designated size of coarse aggregate is 2 mm no to number 4 sieve. Okay, and then ang iyang design strength ana at 28 day is 2,400 psi. Okay, next is your class C concrete. Ang iyang minimum cement content per cubic meter is 9.5 bags or 380. So when you say class C concrete, usually ang iyang composition ana is 9.5 ka bags no per cubic meter. And then iyang maximum water cement ratio is 0.55, and then same ra gyapon no ang iyang slump, which is nag-range sa 2 to 4 inches. And then ang iyang kunin no yung designated nga course size for course aggregate, and then when you say pod class C, 3,000 psi gihapon ang iyang design strength at 28 day. Okay, and then when you say class P concrete no, ang kaning class P concrete is usually mo na siya ang mga concrete or type of concrete ato ang ginagamit sa kanang mga pre-stressed nga mga members no, like concrete piles no, pre-stressed concrete piles or pre-stressed concrete beams. Nagyapon tay mga pre-stressed beams no. So when you say class P, ang iyahang minimum cement content ana per cubic meter is 11 bags, or that corresponds to 440 kilogram. And then ang water cement ratio ana is 0.49. Okay? And then ang iyahang consistency is ang iyahang maximum is 4 inches. Okay? And then ang iyahang designated nga size of course aggregate is nag-range from 3/4 inches no to number 4 nga sieve. And then ang iyahang design strength ana at 28th day is 5,000 psi. Okay? And then we also have class seal concrete. So kaning class seal concrete is usually ginagamit niya sa kanang mga structures or members or concrete structures or members that kanang or concrete ni siya nga pwede siya i-deposit sa water. Okay, underwater kibali. So ang iyahang minimum cement content per cubic meter is 9.5 bags or 380 kilogram. Okay, ang iyahang water cement ratio ana is 0.58, and then ang iyahang slump is nag-range from 4 to 8 inches. And then ang iyahang designated size of course aggregate is 1 inch to number 4 nga sieve. Okay? And then ang iyahang design strength ana is 3,000 psi on the 28th day. Okay? Okay, so aside from the minimum test requirements together with the cement or the concrete compositions no, specified under DPWH ng mga provisions, si DPWH provision nag-specify gid siya gihapon o kining test duration no, per sample submitted for a specified nga mga type of test pod. Okay, nanakay natin column dili for kind of material as well. Okay, so for cement no, ang katong sample nga atong gi-submit no for test of cement, usually ang kana nga test na correspond na siya sa physical and chemical test. No, so katong sample based sa katong minimum test requirements nga ato ang gi-submit no for testing, usually ang test duration ana is 8 days minimum no, 8 days minimum. And then for course aggregate pod no, kani siya for grading, specific gravity, absorption, abrasion, unit weight. So nakay for grading 3 days no, minimum, specific gravity 3 days pod, absorption 3 days pod, your abrasion test 1 day, and then your determination of your unit weight is 1 day pod no, mga minimum lang na siya. And then kato pong for fine aggregates no, kung mag-submit kag sample para sa imong fine aggregates nga test no, ang kana nga test naga ano na siya, same ra gyapon siya sa course aggregate no, na kay grading, specific gravity, absorption, wala lang siya abrasion no, and then the unit weight. So same nga gyapon ang iyahang minimum number of days na duration of the test no. And then for soil aggregates no, nga imong i-submit katong minimum test requirements na magkuha kag sample, so imo siyang i-submit for testing. So mo na siyang mga type of test no, pwede nimo i-conduct sa imong soil aggregates no, for grading 3 days na yung minimum no nga test duration, and then ang imong liquid limit determination is 3 days gihapon, yung plastic limit nimo 3 days additional gihapon no, compaction 3 days, your CBR 7 days, and your abrasion 1 day na siya ang test duration. Okay, and then for your asphalt, yung type of test is physical test no on asphalt 4 days na siya, and also the physical and chemical test on paint 4 days gihapon ng minimum, and for the determination of the compressive strength of your concrete cylinders 1 day lang na siya no, and then same gihapon sa flexural test or flexural strength determination sa imong concrete beam 1 day gihapon siya, and then ang cutting of sample of concrete core 1 day gihapon. Okay. Okay, so aside from that, no, test duration, minimum number of days, no, for the duration of those specific tests, no, gi-provide gihapon ni DPWH diha siyang standard specification ang minimum time, no, sa removal sa formwork. So, sorry, no, ano lang dapat na siya. Removal of formwork na minimum time. Okay, so, ang pag-remove nimo sa imong formworks nagadepende na siya sa imong scope of work, no, lahi-lahi siyang minimum time. Okay? So, for ang imong scope of work center under girders, mga beams, frames, or arches, no, dapat 14 days pa gikan sa pagbuhos niya, no, pwede nimo siya i-remove ang iyang formworks. But given that naka-attain na siya sa 80% sa iyang design strength. So of course before ka you have to make sure no nga before ka tangtang sa imong formworks, gitest nimo ang sample, no, and dapat kailangan ang result ni ka-obtain na siya at least 80% sa iyang design strength. Okay? And then for floor slabs, pwede na ka magtangtang sa iyahang formworks after 14 days, no, gikan sa iyahang pagbuhos. But given, no, nga 70% sa iyahang design strength na attain na niya. So how do you know that one? So you conduct testing, no. So kaning floor slab makandak kag test sa katang isa lang ka cylinder, no, tulo man siya ka buok, so pwede ka mag-test ato at pagka 14 days. So dapat ang gawas or ang result niya is naka-obtain na siya sa 70%, at least 70% sa iyang design strength. Okay, for walls, pwede after 1 day, no, or 24 hours, pwede rin mo siya tangtangon ang imong formworks given that naka-obtain na siya sa iyang 70% sa iyang minimum design strength. Okay? For columns, pwede ka magtangtang sa imong formworks after 2 days, but you have to make sure that ang kanang imong column or katong through your sample, no, your concrete cylinder sample, kailangan naka-obtain na siya 70% sa iyang design strength. Same goes with the side of beams and all of other vertical surfaces. Pwede siya after 1 day or 24 hours, pwede nga tangtangon ang imuhang formworks, but you have also to make sure and also given that 70% no sa iyang design strength is na-obtain na niya. Okay? Okay, so I have 5 questions here no with regards man sa concrete nga handling, no. Gikan sa especially sa site man no, gikan sa central plant padulong sa site. So 5 ni siya question. So this will serve as your somehow assignment, no, and then you will be answering this one. Now we will have a graded recitation during our synchronous class. So given na nino ang 5 ka question, so all you have to do is search or research, no, or do study on these questions and determine the correct answers para during sa ato ang synchronous class we will be having man a graded recitation. So I will be calling names and then you will have to answer one of these questions correctly. Okay, so 5 ni siya na. So i-search lang ninyo, no. Usually makita ni siya sa DPWH nga blue book. Okay? Common man ni siya, so na siya concrete ni siya, no. So if you would search on the DPWH no nga blue book or standard specification, makita nimo ni ang mga answer ani usually dito sa item 405, no, or the structural concrete nga item of works. Na siya dito, makita na siya. Or pwede yapon siya ma-search sa Google. Okay? So I'll see you on our next synchronous class. That would be all for this discussion, and then you may enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much.